Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest Sandra Biskind, and she's here today to share with us her new book, Codebreaker: Discover the Password to Unlock the Best Version of You. Sandra and Daniel are world-renowned visionary and transformational teachers. Using their unprecedented laser-like techniques, they clear your unconscious, freeing you to fully experience life without limits. As a high-frequency transformational catalyst, Sandra and Daniel have dedicated their lives to empowering people to free themselves from pain, suffering, sadness, and self-limiting beliefs. So let's welcome to the show, Sandra Biskind.
Oh, thank you, Marianne. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here.
What a joy it is to have you here. And my goodness, I know you must be so proud. Codebreaker has been making some great headlines. People have just loved this book.
Yeah, they do. It's really interesting. I mean, the subtitle of the book is Discover the Password to Unlock the Best Version of You. And it's like, well, who doesn't want to be the best version of who they are? And if there is a password, like if we all do live by codes, and this is one of the premises that Daniel and I and you know, people say, that everyone lives by codes. And if that's the case, then obviously there's more than 8 billion codes, but they can all break down to two, just love or fear. And when you discover the password to get into those codes and to start breaking them down, you can show up as the person that you want to show up as. And that's why we've been getting such an incredible reaction to the book, because people are saying, hang on, this is not a book, it's a system. And the system is simple to follow, not necessarily easy, but simple to follow. And people are getting the benefits and the results pretty well instantly as they're moving through the book. So, yeah, it's been incredibly rewarding.
Well, and so I have to ask, you know, because I know there's a journal that goes with this, you know, what inspired both you and Daniel to write this book?
Well, this has been an underlying passion of ours practically all of our lives. I mean, I actually, from the age of 3, I was really conversing with divine beings, and I understood that I was a medium then, you know, or I could actually connect with people and angelic realm, and they were giving me advice right from a very, very, very small child. And, you know, one of the things that I was told was, you know, you are a child of God, you are love, and you are going to teach this. And that was very, you know, I was very young when I got that, and I'm going, well, what does that mean? And I remember Daniel telling me that when he was 8, he had this calling and said, I just want to set people free. And when you put those two together, when you put the two of us together, you've actually got this combination of people who have been diligent and absolutely dedicated for decades to being of service to humanity and to wanting to help set people free. And of course, we knew that if we were going to do that, we had to do it for ourselves first. And boy, talk about have every human challenge on the planet that you can possibly have. I mean, we've been through everything, and the pain of divorce, you know, being super successful and making millions and then losing it all in the world's financial crashes and having to work our way back from those, really having opened incredibly successful award-winning businesses. So independently of our spiritual life and our passion to set people free, we've both been fully immersed also in the business world. And that's quite rare for people in our world, in the transformational world, that you have the incredible business background and you combine that with the passion for being set free and showing up as my true self, as the best version of me, then you just can't help but have a system like this come about. And, you know, for us, so many things led up to it. A near-death experience for me, losing my mother at 18. When Daniel and I first met, we decided that we were going to do this work together, and that was 20 years ago. And that's when all of the magic and miracles really started to happen. And we spent, 2 decades really systemizing what we knew, the work we'd done up until that moment, and we put it all together. And we discovered, as we decided to write this particular book, Codebreaker, we put all of the chapters of the book on a board, and we said, well, we have to write about peace because that's our natural state, and love and awareness and trust, because without trust, you don't have the confidence to move forward in life, and you're always worried and anxious. And then it was integrity, the courage to follow through, neutrality, so that's where you don't have your buttons being pushed, unity, where we understood we're all a part of the oneness of all life, and mindfulness, of course, where we're mindful of what's going on within us and what our inner game is telling us, and our intuition. And I looked up at the board and I said to Daniel, doesn't that spell platinum? And it was like, oh, and it was almost like platinum, this password to breaking the code to living as these perfect, divine, beautiful beings that we all are, just was, kind of out there waiting to come in and dance with the world. And so it wasn't like we decided platinum's a great word, let's make up something to fit it. It was that we knew what we had to teach, and it became that. So that was pretty exciting. That's why we knew. You always know when you're in divine guidance and you're in the flow. It's when things like that happen.
Isn't that the truth? And it's interesting, when people get to this place where they're feeling stuck and they have blocks. I mean, does everyone have that, or just some people?
Everyone. That's simple. The simple answer. Yeah, because every single person, and if we can all get this is the first step to getting clear and getting free. Every single human being has unconscious blocks, like that's these programs, beliefs, ideas, and stories that are hidden in our unconscious. They're actually locked in our DNA. They're affecting our gene expression. So our thoughts create our successes and our happiness and our failures and sadness. And so every single human being is not exempt from that. And that's why it's so important, the system's so important, because we start to delve into the unconscious. And when you start to do that, then these aha moments, like the light goes on and you go, wow, hey, I didn't realize that I was in this negative relationship loop, or I wasn't getting the advancement in my work, because this is the underlying thought process. And then, of course, when you discover that, you can neutralize and delete the emotions around those thoughts, and they then have no force to control you whatsoever. And that really is the crux of our work. It's like, yes, everyone has this, and no, it's not your fault. It's really hidden in your unconscious, but it is your job to discover them, to work with them, to neutralize the emotions, and to get free.
Yeah, and that's really exciting news, because then people know that they can make changes in their life. They don't have to stay stuck, And, in your experience, when you look at people who do have blocks, do you see it equal, male and female, or is it, do men have more blocks than women, or women have more blocks than men? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. No, they don't have, neither men nor women have more or less than anyone else, than either gender. However, what I do see, which is quite interesting, having, worked with people for over 40 years, thousands of people around the world, and that is that with women there are particular unconscious blocks that are really, it's almost like it's a world consciousness. And a lot of women really have this underlying fear that they're not good enough, that they're not beautiful enough, that they're not smart enough, that no one will ever love them. Now, a lot of women listen to this and go, no, I don't have that. But if the relationships keep ending up the same way, if you're still feeling, if people are still treating you in a way that doesn't support you and uplift you, if you're still treating yourself in a way that doesn't support and uplift you, then you do have those unconscious programs. And so I actually find that men have different agendas, but they also can have that one too, by the way. That they can also have that one. But that one's been a big one, because I've worked with a lot of people, women in particular, who've had cancer, and I've asked them a question, and it might sound like a super weird question to you, but it's like, why do you have this? And when they really think about it, I got the same answer from all of them. And they all said, because I don't love myself enough. That was so spot on as far as from they were concerned. And once we were able to address that, honestly, we were able to open a door for the body to start healing.
Yeah, and move things forward. Well, it's interesting. Yes. I know in your book you talk about, reprogramming our DNA for success. So how is that possible?
Well, it is possible, and this is what's so exciting. I can't wipe the smile off my face when I talk about this. This is the information that I was getting as divine guidance, but I'm thinking, hang on a minute, really? And then Daniel and I started reading science journals and what was happening in the world of quantum physics, and reading Dawson Church's book, The Genie in Your Genes, and Lynn McTaggart's book, The Field. And both of those people absolutely have researched thousands and thousands and thousands of scientific studies that prove that that is the case, and that that our DNA can be reprogrammed. Our thoughts program it in the first place. So just imagine this. If our thoughts are responsible for everything and they program ourselves in the first place, then what is the thing that's going to reprogram it? It's our thoughts. But there's a step first. The first step is we have to identify what the thought is, what the event, emotion, and decision is. We have to neutralize the emotion, and then we plug in or reprogram a new thought process. And by the way, it's so easy to to reprogram this new thought process when the old one is no longer controlling you. It's not so easy to do it when you've still got this unconscious program running. A lot of people felt very disappointed when they tried to use the law of attraction, and they wanted to manifest, and they created vision boards, and they did all of these wonderful things, and it still wasn't happening for them. And that's because they hadn't addressed the fact that they had a program running that said, well, I don't deserve that. Who do you think you are? But once that's gone, then the vision board works, because the new thought process, the new programming sits there, and the universe conspires to make everything happen for you that you are emanating. It's like your frequency, magnetizes more of the same to it.
Yeah, how exciting is that? Because I know a lot of times, and I know what you're saying, because, when we create these vision boards, people would say like, ooh, I don't deserve this, or I'm not worthy, or whatever that thing is, not enough, smart enough, whatever. And it did seem like there was a little bit of a leap to get from where we wanted to be to where, we were working for what was on our vision board.
Oh, Marion, it's a big leap if you don't know how to reprogram the DNA, if you don't know how to get into the unconscious. I mean, I've seen people suffer for years and years and years and become bitter and angry and jealous, frustrated completely, because they're watching other people, by the way, who have different programs running. Like, they might not have a program around love, relationships, or business, so they're making millions, or they have successful relationships. But they will be suffering on another level. So it's very important that when you do create your vision board, you delve into what is it that I really believe? What do I really feel about this? And start to answer those questions. And when you go through Codebreaker, discover the password to unlock the best version of you. And by the way, the reason why we created the journal was because most people who started using Codebreaker were writing in it. They were writing so much in the book they could hardly see it. And so now with the journal, you get to the journal is just an amazing book in its own right. But you get to go in and inquire into what you really do think and feel about these situations and about these challenges that you're facing. And you write them down. You continue reading the book and going through the process and doing the meditations and answering the inquiry questions. And by the end of the book, you go back and you look at what you've written and you go, wow, I really felt that. And now I feel very different. And then you can start the process again. This is, becoming the best version of who we are, really understanding that we're already these perfect divine beings, that we don't really have to do anything. What our job is to reveal this amazing being that we are. And it's really hard to reveal it if it's covered up with these unconscious thoughts. So we felt that this is a lifelong process, and we thought people will have this book and then they'll just buy lots of journals because they'll start one and they'll just keep going through it. So that was the reason why we created that, to make it easy to keep the whole system together.
And bring it all together. Well, it does make sense, because I know there's, some great power when people actually write down, what it is that they're looking for, changes they're looking to make, kind of working through that process. The act of that transference is quite powerful.
Well, especially if you're doing handwriting, because that's becoming a lost art, but you engage different parts of the brain when you do this. It was actually the Russian physicists, and I honestly, I can't even pronounce their names, who discovered that what Western science is calling junk DNA, by the way. And can you imagine to think that we would even think we had junk DNA in these miraculous bodies? Anyway, so they discovered that it's not junk DNA at all, and that this DNA responds to language and light and a frequency. And so that's why this process is so successful, and why you can reprogram your thoughts, and why it's really important to write them down, because once you've reprogrammed them, when you come back, you can celebrate the shift, right? But what happens is we learned and we discovered what the right language was, what the right thought process, what the right way of accessing the unconscious was. And because we have spent literally decades changing our frequency and oscillating, having the energy that we're vibrating at, having it at a very high state, that when we're working with people, they are making instant shifts. And we wanted people to be able to get those shifts without being with us in person. I mean, obviously, we are just doing the most fabulous online programs. We've got one coming up in March to July. We do beautiful live events. We've got a signature event coming up in July. And that's great if you can get to us, right? If you can do it. But if you can't, then having a book, which you can buy an ebook, for $10, if you can just get the book, then you've got in your hands this incredible information and system for transformation and change. And again, it's a mind training process. You have to do the work. It's not like the book is, we're not doing it for you when you've got this book. You have to be as diligent as we've been and actually want to live the life of your dreams.
Do you find that when people start doing the work, because there's so much of that inner dialogue that we have going on, and a lot of times, it's very negative. It could keep us stuck. We're just like in these feelings of I'm not worthy enough, or maybe I lack confidence, or feeling unwanted, or whatever that thing is that someone's feeling. Do you feel when they start doing the work that jump to getting to the place where they're training their brain, can that happen very quickly, or does that happen over time?
It can happen so quickly. I see people, again, during our live events and online programs, and we put on challenges, free challenges periodically. We are seeing people email us and text us after one iteration with us in the video, as we are giving them, these beautiful activations to this higher frequency energy, as we're taking them through the meditations, as we're giving them the homework, which is inquiry, inquiring into why and what they're doing and feeling and thinking. Instant. I just had yesterday someone send me a video saying, hey, I went through the challenge over the Christmas and my whole life has changed. I feel brighter, happier. I've got more clients. My money situation has turned around. So, yeah, it's instant. But again, we want to sustain it. And to sustain it, we have to be diligent and keep doing the work.
Mm-hmm. It is, you don't become an Olympic athlete by going to the gym once, So,
you are so smart. We love watching the tennis. Can you imagine if Federer and Nadal and Djokovic and all of these, incredible stars in our world, where they would be if they didn't have world-class mentors and coaches. I mean, they simply wouldn't be doing what they're doing. And everybody knows that to get to the next level, it's crazy trying to do it on your own. When you have a mentor, you have somebody who absolutely loves you and wants to support you, then you are going to move mountains. I mean, Daniel and I have both been so blessed to have incredible mentors in our lives. And they're the ones who push you and support you and egg you on, and but they're also the ones who say, hang on a minute, what's going on here? So honestly, getting a mentor that you can trust, I would have to say, is kind of paramount to success. And why wouldn't you want that? Why are you trying to do this on your own? We're not living on islands on our own. We're here together, and there's this unity. And also, what I like about this is you can trust. If you get into this place of trust, which is the P in platinum, then you can trust your intuition to guide you to the people, the books, the programs that you need when you need them.
Yeah, and have that all, it does actually end up coming right to you. Well, what's
yes.
interesting, I know in your book you talk about the Divine Mind Code, and I'd love for you to share with our listeners what that is, because I found that to be very interesting.
Isn't it beautiful? If I tell you the Ego Mind Code first, this makes the Divine Mind Code more powerful. The Ego Mind Code is that part of us that sits in judgment, is attached to stories, wants to separate us from everything. It keeps us in a place where we're really low frequency. We age, weaken, and diminish life. But the Divine Mind Code absolutely uplifts, supports life, and it's where you always have the ability to say and do the highest and best good for you and everyone else concerned. It's where you're totally connected. You have this strong connection to your true self. And, of course, your true self is the real you. That's this perfect divine being that I talk about. And that's why we say that's operating in the Divine Mind Code. And, Daniel and I, one of the things we do is we know when we're in what code we're in. If we start to feel niggly or negative, it's like, oh, okay, that's brilliant. That's my ego puppy. That's my ego mind code. Let's change codes right now. And, once you start to use the system and you understand what code you're in, then it's really easy for you to make an instant shift. Like, I even will stop a sentence midway and go, hang on, no, can I start again? and then come back and say what I really want to say from this Divine Mind Code, from my true self. Because my true self will say things very differently, will see things very differently. Your true self sees things as the divine does. It's simply you see everything and perceive everything from pure love. And love is the highest frequency energy in the cosmos. So when you operate from that place, that's where success happens. So that's why the Divine Mind Code is so important. And you probably noticed in the book, we actually made these heart charts where there's an ego mind code and all that fits into that. And then there's a Divine Mind Code and all the wonder that goes into that. And then there's a platinum heart chart as well. And what we're doing is we're giving to people these resources that they can get, where they get these codes. They're in the journal, and the hearts are empty. And you get to put into your ego mind code the things that are running your life, the things that are dragging you down. And then you also get to fill out the Divine Mind Code heart chart, where you put in all of these incredible things that you do, that you are, that you're connected to. And it's really exciting when you start filling those charts out. This is like another aha moment for people.
Yeah, it's interesting because as we start going down this path, we kind of look at these layers that we're carrying that really don't serve us. And, I felt that your book, Codebreaker, really helped people to see that so that they can, remove those.
Oh, you are so smart. Honestly, Marianne, you mentioning layers. Well, but that's it, isn't it? I mean, there's layer upon layer upon layer. When I work with my VIP private clients, they work with me for 4 to 6 to 12 months with a phone call a week. And each week we discover another layer. And the layer that we discovered this week actually leads into being able to discover the next level. And it's so interesting to me the way this works. Obviously, I'm learning more and more and more as I work with people too. And it is that some things that are so deep within us, they won't get revealed. They simply won't come up to be exposed until we've gotten rid of these other layers on top of them. And that's why, just imagine this though. How exciting is it? We know we've got these layers deep within us. We know they've been passed down from our ancestors, our mothers and fathers and so on. Not everybody necessarily knows their past lives and multidimensional layers too, but that's a reality for me because that's what I experience when I work with people. But whether it's past lives or not, it doesn't matter. They could be archetypal stories, but each story is unique to you. It's unique to who you are, and it's the story that wakes us up and helps us to reveal another layer to actually be rid of it. And this layering is something that has fascinated me because the last couple of years working with clients on a private level, by the time we got to 12 months, it was like, wow, it was like, wow, did we really discover all of that? Was that really? And each time we were able to neutralize and delete the emotional charge around an event, emotion, decision from the past, this client got freer and freer and freer. And the excitement of that is, like seeing people absolutely come to this place where their businesses and their relationships are, free to be what they really want. They don't even need their vision board at that stage, by the way, because it's just all happening automatically.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Sandra Biskind in regards to her new book, Codebreaker. Discover the password to unlock the best version of you. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
There are nearly 2 million Americans living with amputation. Many live right here in San Antonio. Becoming an amputee can be scary, frustrating, isolating, but there's no reason to feel alone. The San Antonio Amputee Foundation is here to help support you and guide you toward resources such as home and car modifications and even prosthetic limbs. For more information or to make a donation, visit saamputee.org. We'll help you live a full, active life, one step at a time. San Antonio Amputee Foundation, healing limbs, hearts, and souls.
back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest Sandra Biskind, who's sharing with us her new book, Codebreaker. So Sandra, before we went for break, we were talking about different parts of the book, and there's one portion where the heart's blank, and it gives us these things to really look at and to address. Was that something that you channeled, or perhaps something that you intuitively knew as you were doing your work, or is this something that both you and Daniel discovered as you were working on your own process?
We discovered the heart charts. By the way, this is an interesting thing that you've just brought up, because we worked with an ex-NSA codebreaker, by the way, who helped us with a lot of this. And he was not spiritual or interpersonal development transformation on any level whatsoever. So you can imagine that he questioned every single thing we wrote in those books, everything. Mm-hmm. And every day he was emailing us, what do you mean with this? What do you mean with that? He just went on and on and on. And in the end, he sent us a chart and said, this makes sense to me. And Daniel and I went, okay, so this is what's going to make sense to people who are not on our wavelength yet, who haven't been meditating for 40, 50 years, who haven't been in the transformational world all their lives. So we took that chart, we massaged it and made it our own and turned it into hearts, and that was the end result. So I'm giving our ex-NSA codebreaker kudos here for actually doing that. And I think what it is when you have this visual chart too, it makes it easy for you to see and understand something. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. It's interesting because, when you have somebody that's so not in, when you look at the self-help, maybe personal development, metaphysical community, spiritual community, and to look at this information and really question, it really, I'm sure, brought up a lot for both you and Daniel as you guys were going through this. Like, well, these are good questions.
You know what? It was shocking because having spent almost 65 years in this world, my whole life, it's been my life. And even though I've been in the business world, I never really understood, because I have this depth of knowledge and wisdom and understanding. I never understood what it was like not to have it. And the beauty of having him, who absolutely didn't want to even know about it, by the way. It was like, no, this is not my world. I'm not having anything to do with it. Working with him, it was a shock that we had to justify what we were saying. We had to go back and we had to make it simpler, easier to read. You can actually thank him for the fact that it is easier to read because we probably had it too out there. And it's really interesting because there's a different level of life. I can't imagine what it would be like to live without this knowledge, without knowing there's, what really happens, because we are spiritual, energetic beings. That's the absolute truth. Science tells us this. We know it's the truth. So when you know that, it's really easy to drop into the rest of the reality and of what that means. But he's not going to do it. However, I must say that Codebreaker did change his life and his relationships and the way he lives, and he's our biggest advocate now. So, we feel pretty blessed.
Yeah. Well, and that says a lot, when you have somebody, when you can convince the skeptics by their own doing, then it says a lot. So, well, in your book, you talk about the forgiveness factor and forgiveness. And so how important is forgiveness throughout this whole process?
It's the most important thing. If you can get that right, there's two things we always say, and I tell people all the time. If you can give up your judgments, it's really hard. And if you can forgive, which is really hard, if you can do both those things, you will be living in the divine mind code. You will have weakened the hold of the ego mind. So forgiveness is incredibly important. There was a study, we talk about this in the book, there was a study done at Harvard University where they actually discovered that unforgiveness and holding a grievance can kill you. It leads to poor heart health, cancer, ulcers, colitis, bad relationships, unhappiness. The list went on. And then conversely, for those who could forgive and let go, they had better heart health, much better relationships, were happier, and they had their blood pressure was normal. They had all sorts of things that the others were having that they didn't have. So honestly, and forgiveness is enlightened self-interest. When we forgive, we're actually forgiving someone. Now this is deep. We're actually forgiving someone for reading our script and for hurting us, because what that's doing is alerting us to the fact that we've got an unconscious program running. So on some level, they're absolutely doing us a service in one way only, and that is, okay, that really hurt me. What does it mean for me? It's all about me, right? So when somebody hurts you, it's still your thought process. It's still, what is it? I remember my cousin years ago said to me, you've got all these people telling you that you love you on social media. You must be so needy of love. And it was like he was saying it like that. And I again go into shock, and I thought, what is that? And then I thought, okay, hang on a minute. He didn't know that I teach people to say I love you. In one of our lives events, I had one woman put her hand up and said, I just can't forgive my father, and I really need to tell him the truth. And oh boy, before she could get another word out, I had this incredible, beautiful energy kind of drop down in and through me. And I looked her in the eye and said, the only thing you ever need to tell your father is, I love you. And honestly, he died like a month later, and she had told him, I love you, and she felt such relief. But that's the forgiveness factor is so important. And by the way, I had to come to a place of forgiveness of my cousin, because he was, putting me down and saying, who do you think you are, needing this much love? There must be something wrong with you. And I'm having to look at, well, what is that telling me, And I had to really look there. And then I had to look at the forgiveness. And truly, it did take me a couple of weeks. And I'm thinking, why is this taking so long? And it's because it is such a hard thing to do. Your ego mind doesn't want to let go of being a victim. Because whatever we don't forgive, we're in victim mode. And the one thing we all know is there's no such thing as a successful victim. So please forgive, forgive, forgive. And there's a lot of, forgiveness tools in Codebreaker. And I've done some beautiful free meditations around that too that really help you get there quite quickly.
And you touch on something that I'd like for us to kind of expand on a little bit. You talked about, when you can feel that, when someone does something, it's really they're doing you a favor. They're showing you kind of where, either you're stuck or things that you need to work on. And it's that emotional charge that really is kind of the flag in the sand saying, hey, take a look at this,
Isn't that perfect? And people, if we could just get that and work on where the emotional charge is coming from, we'd understand why we actually pulled that experience into our lives. And it's like, I've worked with women who have been in very abusive marriages, and by the way, men too, and myself. I was in an incredibly abusive marriage for 7 years, from the age of 20 to 27, and when I got up the courage to leave that marriage, I really, I was in trouble. I needed to find out what was going on. By the way, that was when I started meditating every Thursday night in a group, and when I understood that I could master my own frequency. But at the same time, I had to look at, what was I doing in that marriage? Why was I, why wasn't I getting love in that marriage? Why wasn't I being supported? And I realized that when my mother died at the age of 41 and I was 18, I said, I'm never going to love like that again. And I don't want to love like that again. And so I had put up this wall, and I'd forgotten that I had done that. And because I had said that, I knew I wasn't emanating this love frequency with my husband at all. And whether or not, he would have been picking up on that. and he would have been frustrated and angry, and he that came out in lots of different ways. And when I left that marriage, and I go, hang on a minute, I made that decision, and then I had to reprogram that so that I could be the love that I am, and that was a huge turning point. And you see, I didn't even need to forgive him once I understood that it was me. Once I understood that my thought process had created that situation, there was no longer any need for forgiveness.
Do you find that people have a tougher time getting to love than forgiveness?
Yes. Don't you? Yeah.
Well, it depends,
I do.
You know?
Yeah, because you think about it, love catalyzes everything. Lack of love, too much love, smothered love, there's all of these love with expectations, children who get abused and slapped around when they're little, they equate love with abuse. Love equals abuse. So love gets distorted, just like God, the word God gets distorted, and God and love to me are the same thing, by the way. Just like that, love gets so distorted because people don't know the truth. But none of that is love. None of it. The only thing that is love is the depth and the perfection of who we are, that incredible energy that everything it touches turns into itself. So you know you're in love, as in the love frequency, in that love code, when you're not afraid of anything. When there's no fear present. You just love. There's no expectation. You forgive. There's no way that you can't forgive. You stop judging. You start accepting. In other words, you start living as a platinum being. So love is so important, and that's the thing. If we could get that right, if we could just get that one thing right, we've actually, we would be living the life of our dreams without doubt.
Yeah, it's interesting getting the love thing, getting that in place, and you're talking about getting that right, how other things would kind of fall in place too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because love, if you imagine that love is the highest frequency energy for, in this whole cosmos, that means that when you're vibrating at that high frequency of love, it magnetizes more of that to you. So if you're on a frequency, if you're in an anger mode, for instance, you will magnetize more anger to you. I remember being deeply disappointed by a friend in business when I flew to Sydney, and I got in the cab and I said goodbye to her as though I wasn't angry and I wasn't upset, and I was seething inside. I think I was 30 years old. And I got in this cab, and this cab driver started driving, and he was honking his horn and swearing every word you can think of, all the way from the business meeting I'd been at to the airport. And I started laughing. And the more I laughed, of course, the angrier he got. But the fact is that what I understood was that I wasn't prepared to acknowledge that I was angry and be truthful, and he was doing it for me. So as I was listening to him, he was saying all the things that I really wanted to say. And so if anger begets more anger, whatever you're thinking, whatever frequency on begets more of that. Imagine if you were sitting squarely and deeply within your own heart and emanating love. Imagine what is going to be showing up for you, because it can only be more of that.
And gosh, what a great existence that would be, to have more love come in our life in different ways, so it could be with, either, with friends or just meaningful relationships or great experiences. I mean, that sounds like a great way to go.
Total strangers. Yeah, total strangers. Daniel and I spent 5 months in a little seaside resort in Australia, and every day we would go and have coffee at this fabulous little surf lifesaving club. And it was during the school holidays there, and there was this very pretty young blonde 17-year-old who served us every day. And on the last day, we said to her, we're leaving tomorrow. And she started crying. And she looked at us and she said, "What is it?" That was all she said. She said, "What is it?" And we knew what she meant. We just said, it's love. We just love you. And the tears were pouring down her face, and she said, oh, I thought it was that. She said, my whole life has changed since you've been coming here. And that was, we didn't talk about love. We had very just, little cute conversations with her, but she could feel that she was in the presence of love. And it probably was one of the first times ever, because it affected her so profoundly. And so that's why love changes everything. We've got that quote in the book, I think by Patricia Wilson, that says, love is a magician. Everything it touches turns into itself. And that's a beautiful example of that.
Yeah, that is a great example. And it's interesting how people can really pick up on it and how they make that shift, whether they know what's happening or not.
And humans know everything. Humans pick up on everything. We might block it. We might be afraid of it. We might not want to know about it. But all humans pick up on everything. We're incredible radio antennas and receivers, and we're amazing.
Mhm. Without a doubt. Well, before, when we started our discussion, you talked about the platinum state of mind, and I would love for you to share a little bit more about what that is with us.
Yeah. So the platinum state of mind is when you begin to master this mind training system, and you start with peace, and we work into you get onto the frequency of peace, then of love, because love is who we are. Peace is that bedrock and our natural state. You master awareness, which means you become aware of how you are affecting everyone around you, and you become aware of what everyone else is doing, thinking, and saying, so that you know how to adjust your life for that. You start to trust. First of all, you trust that everyone is going to be true to their own values, which means that you don't just blindly trust people and then they stab you in the back. You learn, using that awareness, you learn what their values are, and you can trust they will be true to that. Trust is also about confidence, and it's also one of those things that when you're in that place, you actually stop worrying and being anxious. And then integrity, that's the flip side of trust. That's where integrity, if you have a bridge and it doesn't have the right girders on it, it lacks integrity. It'll fall down. So integrity isn't just about knowing what's right and having the courage to follow through. It's about this wholeness, this strength and wholeness. And we say we want to help people go beyond enlightenment into wholeness. And then there's neutrality. And neutrality is the big, big, big one, because when you're neutral, when nothing can push your buttons, when you can be the silent observer of what is being done and said around you, you don't react in a way that doesn't support you or the situation. You can make more informed decisions. You can tap into your true self first. You can discover the answers that you need, and you can actually dispel a lot of challenging situations by not being engrossed in them. So neutrality is huge. And we say, empowered neutrality is when you are always looking to your emotions, your feelings, knowing that when you feel negativity, emotional or pain, that there is an ego mind code in play, and that it's time to get yourself back to neutral. And then, of course, unity is about understanding that we are all connected, that there is a oneness to all life that supports us, that we are simply not alone. And then mindfulness is about, and mindfulness is another one of those ones where you can't be in denial of what you really think and feel. We have these emotions come up, we stuff them down, we make ourselves sick, or we are connected to our intuition and creativity and we completely ignore it. So mindfulness is about really connecting to your inner game and what your inner signals are telling you. So you can imagine that if you were to absolutely master those high frequency aspects of our true self, because that's what platinum is. It's this high frequency acronym for all that we are. If you can master that, then obviously the level of happiness and success, and truly your reason for being here, which is to evolve, grow, and have fun, will actually, reveal itself and be put into place. But you've also read in the book that there are core low-frequency blockers to all of those. And what I love about that, on the page that describes those, where they're all there, what I love is that when you look at them and you see, fear. Fear is the core frequency blocker to love. When you're feeling fear, you go, oh, hang on, this is my signal. I've got to do a U-turn here and get myself back into love. Or if you're attached to your story and you're separating yourself from your family and friends because you've got this story running, and that you won't forgive, then you realize that you are absolutely blocking neutrality, that you can't be neutral, because being attached to our stories is what stops us from being neutral. So it's really fun when you go through this system. It makes it so easy to see what it is that's blocking that platinum state of mind. And once you know it, you just make the change. I mean, making the change is quite easy, by the way.
Well, yeah, I'm so glad that you went over that again. I mean, we heard it initially, but I think it makes more sense as we continue this discussion and we talk about this so people can piece all this together. And, of course, they want to pick up their own copy of Codebreaker as well. It makes a little more sense as they read through the book and gain a greater understanding and awareness of it. And on the topic of awareness, you talk about that as part of the practice. And I wanted to know, why did awareness become a portion of this?
Oh, well, I think awareness is one of those things that if you don't use your higher awareness, because that's what I like to say, there's a conscious state, there's a super conscious state, and then if you don't use your intuition and your awareness, you actually miss the signals that life is sending you. You completely miss it. And you don't have an awareness of how to help or change a situation. There's a story in the book about a friend of ours who was working for the Cleveland Chamber of Commerce, and he was putting on an event, 1,400 people sold out, and the President of the United States secretary rang and said, the President is coming, he wants to make an address. And so all of a sudden, they lost 400 seats that were fully paid for, and they had to book another room. So that took 400 people that had paid to be in the main room to hear the president and to be at this meeting. They're off in this side room and they don't even get to see him. So this man and this president had such higher awareness. They were aware that what these people were feeling. I mean, it was like, wow, what's going on here? They're not feeling good. If they weren't aware, they wouldn't have done what they did. And what happened was, when the president walked in, our friend went up to him and said, Mr. President, we've got a little problem here. These 400 people, and he told them the story. And the president looked at him and said, yeah, let's just fix that. His level of awareness was, really huge. And he went into that room with the president, and the president shook the hand of every single one of those 400 people and spoke to them individually. And every one of those people in that room, they couldn't wipe the smile off their face. They were happier than the people in the other room, because the president just walked straight past them and up onto the stage, because they had bragging rights that they had spoken to and shaken the hand of the president. If those two men, very high consciousness men, were not aware of the situation, they would have had 400 very angry people on their hands. And that's why awareness is so important. Because when you are aware of what your husband is thinking, of what your wife is thinking, of what your children are thinking, if you can tap in and, really be aware of that, you can make decisions that change the situation rather than challenge it.
Well, and I love that you have that in the book, because it does allow people to get outside of themselves and be more conscious of what's happening around them. Because a lot of times people are just kind of in the bubble of me, It's like, oh, this is affecting me, this is happening, but when they can have that awareness that separates, it's like, well, how are the other people feeling? Or how is that comment affecting that person? It's such a dynamic.
It is really, isn't it? And it's important because, again, we are not alone in the world. Everything that's happening around us affects us. Just think about this. Everybody else's thoughts are affecting us just as much as their words. So if you're not aware of what's going on and the signals that life is sending you, you are going to be affected without even knowing what the hell is going on for you. And, honestly, ignorance is not bliss.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. Well, I think I have time for one or two more questions here. And, we've covered so much ground, my goodness, and it's not even touching the tip of the iceberg and what's in Codebreaker. But, one thing that you did touch on earlier, you mentioned it, is the, discussion of unity. And in your book, you talk about how unity and happiness are intertwined. And I'd love for you to kind of expand on that.
Yeah, this is important, isn't it? Because when you hear about people suiciding who are depressed, one of the reasons that happens is because they feel lost and alone. And there's a loneliness that creates depression and separation, and that they don't belong. And that feeling of not belonging and what's it all about, that when the ego mind code grabs you and drags you down to the depths of that place, then you no longer feel unity. You no longer feel a oneness with anyone. And that's why unity is really important. There is a world consciousness. There is a unity. In the ego mind world, we are all separate, and, you have to stay that way. But that's the illusion. The reality is that we're not all alone. We are all one. When I look at people, I'm fascinated. I go, oh, there's me. Look at what I'm doing. Look at what body I'm in over there. Oh, I'm that little boy. Oh, I'm that old man. I know the truth. I know that every single person is an aspect of who I am. And I'm celebrating all of what I'm going through in all the other bodies. And there's no way that I could ever feel alone and lonely. In fact, when I was 45 and finally met and had this God arranged marriage with Daniel, when he wanted to marry me, I said, no, I don't need to get married. I was feeling so whole and complete because I knew I was whole and complete and I was one with all life. And so unity is so important. It makes you understand that you do belong, that you are in the right place at the right time. I mean, there's so much more to it. Please read the chapter on unity because it's a real eye-opener.
Well, Sandra, where can people connect with you and Daniel and learn more about Codebreaker?
Okay, so to connect with us and hopefully work with us, we've got really exciting programs happening in 2019. You can go to thebiskinds.com. That's BISKINDS, biskinds.com. And if you go to the events page, you'll see what's happening. You can read lots more about us and, get the free blogs and the meditations. And then to learn more about the book, like immediately, and I'd love to give your listeners these free gifts, if they go to codebreakerbook.com, so that's codebreakerbook.com, they can learn all about the book. There's a place where that'll take them directly to Amazon to get their own copies. But there's also on that page, there's incredible, we made these very high frequency meditation gifts for them, and they can, just sign in and we'll send them the gifts. And then you can start using those meditations daily to actually start changing your frequency and shifting your state straight away. And then when your books arrive, you've already made a start on that.
Yeah, I'm making those adjustments. Well, you mentioned that, having people work with you. So do you work with individuals and companies?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah. I work with a lot of transformational leaders, professionals, business people, people who know that it's time for them to get to the next level. So I take on very few private one-on-one clients because when I take on a client, I am connected to them 24/7. We have a phone call a week, but on a spiritual level, I know what's going on. For instance, you probably noticed that Jack Canfield wrote the foreword to the book and really raves about the system and our work. And that's because I've been his spiritual mentor and coach for the last 5 years. And I've worked with him, his family, and all of his staff. And he has Daniel and I co-facilitate in some of his programs. And he really loves the work because he knows that when he went as a private client, that I'm going to be calling him and saying, hang on, what's going on? And he'll just say, oh, wow, I can't believe you just called right now. And then we'll talk about what's happening. So private client work is obviously my favorite, by the way. But we're starting an online program that has honestly been decades in the making. It starts in March, but people can join any time up to July 1st. And they're actually going to get live calls with us where we're giving people correction. We're actually doing it for you. And then that's called Quantum Source Code. And then in July, which I think is the one that everybody just has to get to, we do a program called Activate Enlightenment in Marina Del Rey. And that's 3 days immersed in this Platinum Life system where you are trained in the system. When you leave, you know how to use it. You've got the tools. And your life and the shifts are changing daily as you're in the program. So all of that information, by the way, is on our website. And it's exciting. I get very excited because for me, watching people make a shift, make a change, and start to have the happiness, the joy, and the success that I know they deserve, that's the greatest gift that Daniel and I can give to anyone.
Yeah, what a beautiful gift that is. Well, Sandra, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today and sharing your new book, Codebreakers, with us. It's been such a joy to spend this time with you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, it's been an honor to spend this time with you, Sandra, and thank you so much for sharing your book with us today, Codebreaker, Discover the Password to Unlock the Best Version of You. Codebreaker is available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and if it's not on the shelf at your indie bookstore, ask for them to order it. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.